show you how to do a tubular bind off for knit one, purl one ribbing. That's the bind off I used on the new sweater that I just finished out of far, and I loved it. It gave a really nice elastic yet firm edge to the collar of my sweater. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. It's a really nice one. So I have some yarn attached to this. You would normally just be using your working yarn from your sweater. I just have a different color so you can see what you're doing. Your instructions are going to tell you to cut off your working yarn, and it says to leave about 3 times more yarn than you need to get the whole way around the collar or your cuff or whatever you're binding off. So I've attached this yellow yarn just as a visual for us today, and I've got it threaded on a tapestry needle. This is a 2-step process that you repeat over and over again with 2 steps that are kind of a setup to get you started. So the first step, I'm going to take my tapestry needle and insert it into the first stitch on the knitting needle purlwise, so as if I were going to purl the stitch, and I'm going to pull the yarn the whole way through. The next setup step, with the tapestry needle behind the work, and this is important, you want this yarn to kind of wrap around that stitch and give it a little hug. And then I'm going to just wiggle the tapestry needle through in between those stitches, and then I'm going to insert it knitwise into the first purl stitch. So I kind of wrap it around, it's a funny little motion like that, and poke it through the stitch, and then I pull it the whole way through, leaving both those stitches on the needle. And that's my setup. You can see it kind of wrapped around that first stitch. Okay, step 3, I'm going to insert my needle into the first knit stitch knitwise and just pop it off the needle. So that's my first knit stitch, poking it in like I'm going to knit, and I take it right off the needle. And then I insert my needle purlwise into the next knit stitch. So I'm skipping over one and poking it in there like I'm going to purl, and purling the yarn the whole way through. And it's a little tangly with all these little extra tails that I have here. There we go. Get out of there. Okay. Now I'm on to the next step. I'm going to insert the tapestry needle purlwise into the first purl stitch, which is this one, and pop it off the needle. And then with the tapestry needle behind the work again, whoop. So I need to get my yarn here. I'm going to come and insert it knitwise, whoops, into that stitch and pull the yarn through. Okay, now I'm going to repeat steps 3 and 4. So insert tapestry needle into the first stitch knitwise and pop it off of there. And then insert the needle purlwise into the next knit stitch, so all the way over here, and pull it through. Now I'm going to go purlwise into the first purl stitch and pop it off the needle. And then with the tapestry needle behind the work, insert it knitwise. So I'm coming in from behind, scooping around, going into that stitch, and pulling the yarn through. Going into the first knit stitch, knitwise, popping it off the needle, and then inserting purlwise into the next knit stitch, popping over there, pulling it the whole way through. See, we're binding these stitches off, we're clearing them up off the needle. And I'm going purlwise into the first purl stitch, popping it off the needle, and then inserting knitwise into the next purl, so scoop, come around like that, and pull it through. We're just going to repeat those 2 steps over and over again. Knitwise, pop it off, purlwise into the next knit, all the way over there, pull it through. Purlwise here, pop it off, and then we're going to scoop around here, whoops, in between, scoop around so you're poking into that purl knitwise and pulling it through. So you can see the yellow there, which looks kind of ugly, but when you flip it over, you can see it makes a nice smooth edge. It kind of curves over the top like that. When you're doing it with the color you're knitting with, you're not going to see any of this, but you can see the kind of convoluted path that it makes the whole way through there. So this doesn't come naturally, so don't think that it will the first time you try it. You want to have your instructions in front of you. But nice, firm, even tension. You don't want to pull too tight. You don't want to leave it too loose. And then you're going to have a really nice stretchy edge that still looks great. Highly recommend learning this bind off.